Good morning, good afternoon, and good night, and welcome to the Amateur Otaku podcast. How is everybody doing out there? I am Brandon Alvarado, the Scarlet Fan here, and I'm very excited to be back here talking anime classics. And a classic we are covering today. This movie came out when I was 1 year old, and I just saw it this week 33 years when I'm 33 years old. But it's a classic nonetheless. It's another gem of the Studio Ghibli library. We've been meaning to cover for a while, and we figured this week is the perfect week to cover it. Um, we're going to be talking Kiki's Delivery Service. So if you love this movie, make sure you let us know in the comments below. Let us know what you love about it. And if you love everything we do here at the Amateur Otaku podcast, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, click on that like button, and click on the bell for notifications so you don't miss any anime, manga coverage that we do every single week that we bring you every single week. Awesome anime and manga content. Also, if you love to listen to us on our podcast channel, make sure you check us out on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, wherever podcasts are found, except Podbean. But the Amateur Otaku podcast is almost wherever podcasts are found. But now, without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about one of the most beloved Studio Ghibli films ever, Kiki's Delivery Service. Isaac, are you there?
Yes, but I just delivered a couple of times.
Um, Good thing you didn't drop him here.
Oh, I probably will some point.
That is, damn it. um, it's been a while since we covered the Ghibli movie. I remember how back in our catalog we did an entire series on Ghibli movies. Do you remember? We did it
Yeah.
like 2 years ago, um, and you can check it out. You can check all that
Yeah.
out in our podcast feed. We cover Spirited Away, Princess Mononoke, Whisper of the Heart. We did a nice bunch of couple of Ghibli movies, but we never got a chance to do Kiki's Delivery Service. Now, you're not going to believe this. This is the first time I watched it. I've never seen it before.
And I'm
Um,
ashamed of it.
I mean, you live ashamed of me, so
I
I'm
mean,
kind
you're
of
not wrong.
I'm kind of wow. Emotional damage. Um, Now, Isaac, I know that you've seen a million of Ghibli movies forever, but when was the first time that you saw Kiki's Delivery Service? And how many times have you seen it since? Where does it rank in your top Ghibli list or whatever, if there is one?
First of all, Ghibli it is a much better animation studio than Pixar and Disney combined. Let's just make that
Wow.
perfectly clear.
I mean, nobody needed you to drop them bombs, but go ahead.
I'm just dropping bombs here because I want to. But anyway,
Like
I
fresh
don't.
deliveries. I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah, and you know how much I like to mess with people, even though I do stand by that. But I digress. And I can't really recall when I saw this at the first time. But when I first saw it at the first time, I thought it was a cute little palette cleanser for whenever you want it. After it's a sort of it's honestly sort of like you call most of the Ghibli movies cute, relaxing palette cleanser. Honestly,
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say that of Grieve with the Fireflies, but I'll
most I said it most,
okay. But you know what? It's funny that you say that. I don't want to interrupt you. Keep going. Go.
but but now watching it again, it just it's the same feeling. It's just like if someone told me to if someone told me I want to show my children a start with an animated movie just to show it what's appropriate.
Right.
Most Ghibli movies is the perfect way to go in my book. With
Yes.
the movies that are not this on the top of my head. the I can't recall what the it's based on a book. I can't recall what its name. Nausicaa Valley on the Wind.
Yeah.
Definitely not the Grave of the Fireflies.
Right.
And Princess Mononoke.
Right.
Spirited Away is a bit questionable because I don't know if a kid
Yeah.
would
Yeah.
get nightmares about the
No
monster
face.
that try.
No face. Yeah.
Yeah, but the movies like this, that or arguably the mascot of the company, Studio Ghibli, with their cat-like spirit, the
Totoro. Yeah.
Totoro, those are just perfect introduction.
Da 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 da. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah. But it's also it's. I do have a little soft spot for this movie because, well, I, most of our listener that has been listening to us for a while know that I don't live in the States like you and Mike, for example. I live in Sverige, and there is actually a couple of Swedish inspiration with this movie, actually, and that is the town that Kiki is living in.
Hmm.
Some fun little backstory about this is that Hayao Miyazaki himself tried to. I don't know if you ever heard of Astrid Lindgren. It's a
No.
famous child. She's a famous child book author. She wrote stuff like Ronja. I don't know how you call it in the U.S., but Ronja Rövardotter or uh, Pippi Longstrump. Have you heard of those?
I don't believe I have.
Yeah, but she has done that. Or Brother Lionheart. Also, that's her.
Okay.
But he wanted to get access to do Pippi Longstrump, a movie about Pippi Longstrump. But for whatever reason, that didn't happen. They did get access to Ronja Rover, Ronja, then later on, and made an anime of it. Actually, maybe we should cover that at one point.
Mm.
But anyway, that aside, and when he went to the specific part of Stockholm, which is our capital, which is sort of like there is uh, buildings that are more 1800, 1900, old 1900 century still out there. He got inspired, and he saw also pictures of the architecture in Gotland, which is the island that is Swedish territorium. And so he decided that he took staff with him, and on top of, I believe it was um, 80 boxes of film for their camera, and pretty much use it all to take picture, just to get the architecture, just to get some reference in creating the city that Kiki is delivering her delivery. Actually,
Nice. Nice. That's actually pretty cool. That's actually pretty cool. And that's one of the things about Miyazaki also, that in most of the architecture on most films, it's really inspired by reality, right? And it's all about finding the fantasy between the real and mixing those two worlds together, right? And that's kind of like one of the cool things that Miyazaki does, even in films like Howl's Moving Castle and films like Princess Mononoke. There are very, very clear fantastical elements, but it's all grounded to serve the story. Does that make sense? So there's a lot of that throughout his films and the commentary that he has. Now, I like Kiki's delivery service. I like it. It does fall under that child um childlike innocence and simplicity that you would see in. I think you would see it. I think that's kind of like my neighbors the Yamadas and like um my neighbor Totoro, right? Like
Yeah,
these movies are aimed for kids, like for like 8, 9, 10, 11 year olds, right? It's not aimed and I like how you have different movies that are for different audiences. Because for example, movies like Princess Mononoke, Whisper of the Heart, and where Marnie's was there, those are definitely aimed for young adult audiences, right? For
yeah,
kids in middle school and so on and so forth. So this was definitely, it does what it needs to do. It really addresses, everything's kept very simple and for the audience that it's targeting. And I think it works very well because it never crosses any lines and the story is simple enough for you to follow. What I do find interesting about this movie in particular, though, that it is the first Miyazaki film that I feel kind of runs like a mini series.
I can
Like
see that.
it doesn't feel like it has a somewhat linear structure. It feels like it's an episodic tale. Like you have like several 25 to 30 minutes chunk of story that are pieced together to tell this narrative, right? Because you, instead of you having a clear act 1, act 2, act 3, it's all divided into these little things. You can even grab Kiki's and break it up into episodes, which is great because it allows you to just jump in wherever area you are and enjoy it that way. And it also makes me think, because it's directed for kids, right? It makes it very easy for kids to follow it because the attention spans of little kids is very limited. So it makes me think if those things were taken into consideration when making Kikis, because you can kind of feel that after 20, 25 minutes in a story beat, you're going to the next beat no matter what, right? Um, but yeah, I enjoyed it. The animation is beautiful. I mean, I've always loved Studio Ghibli's animation. Um, Kiki is this proud 13-year-old. Um, I like the characters. I like the character of Asono. I love the character of her husband, the baker. Gigi is hilarious. I like that whenever Kiki runs into trouble, it feels, it's like only when she's dealing with situations that affect her emotionally or her job. Like it's, I like how raw it is because it doesn't it does, the portrayal is very realistic because you and I have seen, we were kids once, right?
Yeah,
But we all know what it is to see a kid shut down. You know what I mean? Like when something happens and that kid just shuts down. And I like how simple and raw and clear he captures those moments. Like when she's angry or when she doesn't understand, things don't go their way. The idea that she's trying to find who she is. I like how honest and sincere all those moments are. And I think those are my favorite moments of the film. Um, I'm going to say this though. What is it with Japanese parents and letting their kids go off on life changing adventures at 13? Is this a
yeah.
thing of the 90s?
Are you talking Pokemon again?
Bro, like as soon as I hear that she's 13 and she's going to live in whatever place, oh, this is normal. We're just going to let her fly out. It's like, bro, she's 13. Like,
She's also a witch.
I know,
So,
I know, but that's the other thing. Like, she doesn't like, she can't like cast spells or use magic. All she does is fly, and it's like, okay, I mean, I mean,
Also, what time period
is this
is
like a Japanese trope? Because also,
also what year is this really in?
it's I wouldn't be surprised if it takes place like in the 40s, because you got to think about it. It wasn't until after World War II that you kind of didn't see dirigibles anymore.
Mm. But I mean, there was times during the 40s, even so, that in Europe, that kids had to grow up old, so to speak, fast.
Okay. I mean,
It's my great, for example, my great grandpa, so to
hmm
speak, on my father's side. He was kicked out when he was 13, so
oh wow,
and because he had to leave, get a job and all that jazz. So
interesting.
it wasn't exactly 1940s then, but it's not just a Japanese thing. It's has happened in Europe too.
I got you. That's interesting. That's interesting. Maybe it's the fact that times have changed so much. I never stopped to think about that. That was a common thing, because I also see it like, but
But are you?
it's a common thing today. Also, like in Japan, that a lot of high schoolers or middle schoolers are left alone practically for a long time. If not, they live alone. Like you see it in anime all the time, right? Like you have these kids that you don't see their parents anywhere because their parents are either always working or they live alone in the city to be able to go to school. You know, um, it's I don't know. I think it's my Western upbringing that that makes me feel that oh, this is very strange. Um, but it's also fascinating because of Pokemon. Like we all judge Pokemon, but hey, Pokemon is just doing what Japan's does, right?
Yeah.
Send these kids out into the wild and collect wild beasts because reasons. Um, wait, we're talking about Kiki. But it's a fun film. It's it's simple and to the point. The music is gorgeous. Of course, it's Joe Hisashi. I mean, that guy is a freaking legend. I think what like when you think about amazing music, you go to like John Williams, you go into Joe Hisashi, you go to um what's the name of the guy for Nobu and Matsu, the guy that did the soundtrack for Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross, the lady that did the one for Final Fantasy 15. I mean, Joe Hisashi is one of the greats, and it shows. I mean, the music's great. I love the fact that Joe Hisachi's music is very classically inspired and inclined, because you see a lot of homages to like Baroque music and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And a person like me that studied classical music, I find that very amusing, especially Kiki's theme. Da-da, ba-da, da-da, da, da, da,
Honestly,
ba-ba-da, ba-ba-ba-da, ba-ba-bum.
to some extent, it does sound like what it could be in a Swedish child program. Honestly, now that I
Yeah,
think about it,
yeah,
which makes the Swedish inspiration even more
yeah,
fitting, I suppose.
yeah.
And I guess it's even uh, sort of like a sidetrack when it comes to this. But is there any other connection for Eastern celebration than the Jesus in US?
Well, that's the thing, though. The whole thing with Easter. Well, that's I don't want to
Is
get too
there?
complicated, but Easter. I mean, when people call Easter, they think about the bunny. That's really what they're thinking about. They call the whole Christian celebration also, but it's primarily the whole thing with the bunny. So
Yeah. Okay, that makes it even funnier, considering, well, we're recording this in the Easter time here in 2022, and well, one of the parts that is within the folk tales of Sweden when it comes to Easter is, well, we get we make a massive fire to scare away the witches, so to speak.
Oh my!
It's been for a long ass time
We're
though.
trying to celebrate Kiki, not scare away Isaac.
Yeah, man, it's just a fun connection, so to speak, considering a movie inspired by Sweden,
Yeah.
which is we had. It sounds like a Swedish. It could be in a Swedish channel program. You get what I mean.
Do you have a favorite scene or story beat in this film?
It's 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 her interaction with the cat, honestly.
Yeah, Gigi's hilarious.
That I feel is actually kind of funny.
What I love about Gigi, which by the way, I kind of don't like the fact that he never speaks again. Um, I kind of don't like that though, but that's just preference. Not a, it's just a nitpick. Not that it ruins the movie. I mean, he gets a family. He was a busy cat. Um, but the whole thing about Gigi, I like the fact because he's kind of like, how you always have that friend that is either the same age or younger than you, but he always pretends that he's the oldest one. You know what I mean? Like he has that like that big brother vibe. Um, which I like the whole thing with Gigi because he's like very tough and very stern, but then at the end of the day, he gets scared as just as easily as Kiki does, which kind of tells you about um, his maturity or his age. Which I also find interesting is how kind of Gigi's growth parallels Kiki to a degree because he kind of also grows up because he becomes a father. And that's kind of like how, because he grows up, he no longer needs Kiki. Kind of. Does that make sense? Like they no longer need each other in the way they needed each other when they were kids. And like Kiki not talking to him anymore, it's another way of her growing up. I don't know. It's interesting. Um, but yeah, I like that. The whole thing with Gigi's a great character and her other interactions. Um, those crows are bastards, by the way.
Crows
Um,
are always bastard. I mean,
yes.
you know how they were in Kiki, not Nishiko, My Ordinary Life. The crow that stole the cat scarf.
Oh, I didn't. I don't think I got that far. But but
But
still, crows are bastards.
yeah, that crow is okay. I'm not gonna.
My
This is this movie is too innocent for me to going into sailor
yes.
mood.
Stop. My favorite scene is the quiet interaction between Gigi and Osono's husband. Like he's like the master baker, and then he's doing all these crazy stuff with the trays and whatever, and kind of notices that Gigi's looking at him. I don't know. I like those. I like those kinds of interactions. Well, you have these characters that are not meant to interact with each other, and they're interacting. I like that. He's like that guy is like a silent, awesome supporting character. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't talk. He doesn't. But just the facial expressions, him just.
Yeah,
I,
get what you mean.
guys, if you love simplicity, cuteness, but well done animated films, Kiki's delivery service is awesome. Has everything you're looking for and more. And of course, like I don't think there's any Ghibli movie that doesn't. What I love about Ghibli movies is that there's a lot of variety. There's a little bit for everybody, but you can never deny that each of them are done with so much care, with so much love and artistry, and it shows in Kiki's delivery service, which is great. Um, And I don't know if you have this over there in Sweden, but over here in the States, they're doing every year so far, and for the last couple of years now, they've been doing a Ghibli celebration where they bring the movies back to theaters, which is great.
Uh, no, they haven't, and ugh.
So, so one of these days I'll catch Kiki in the big screen, which I think it's worth it meant to be seen. So that's awesome. That's all I got, man. You got anything else on Kiki?
No.
Go check it out, guys. It's available on HBO Max, which is awesome, in one of the hubs. Is it available in HBO Max in Sweden?
Last time I checked, yes, but I own the I own the entire collection of Ghibli movies, so
Yeah. So if you guys want to check it out, go to HBO Max. It's one of the premier selections in the Studio Ghibli hub, and watch it with your kids, whether with your nephews, whether with your brothers and sisters. Kiki's Delivery
just
Service is awesome for the whole family, and it's great
like uh,
anime.
like we said at the beginning, just don't show the kids um, what was it? Was it Princess Mononoke, Grave of the Fireflies, and Nausicaa Battle of the Wind at
Those
the
are not
beginning.
for kids.
No, maybe not Spirited Away then if you're under the age of 10.
Yeah, but this one's awesome.
Yeah.
Where can we find you, Isaac, as we wrap up and say goodbye?
Well, you can find me over at Emblemaniac on Twitter, and you can find my work over at the Wobum Entertainment. And we have over the Amateur Otaku Pod. You can Twitter. You can put it out on the banner while I mention that. We have a giveaway on the Twitter where we give away 3 months of Crunchyroll Premium to a winner, where we, in order to celebrate Anime Day, and that context is going to end up end on April 25th, which so which well you can see at screen that if you're watching it on YouTube, Brandon is now showing it on the screen. But yeah, if you go to the Amateur Otaku Pod over at Twitter, we are, like I said, we are covering, we are giving out 3 months of Crunchyroll, considering, well, Crunchyroll is going to be the major force of anime right now, since Funimation is merging into that one. A quick random question: did you know that Crunchyroll started as a piracy site for anime?
That sounds amazing.
Then someone, for whatever reason, managed to get a hold of it and started to make it legit. No, I'm not even kidding you.
That sounds like a Godfather plot, but we know
Yeah.
that you love that movie.
Oh, fuck that movie.
Yay, a bat word in the Kiki recording. So
Sorry.
this, and you can find me at the Scarlet Fan 52 on Twitter and at the Scarlet Fan 52 on Instagram. Um, guys, watch Ghibli movies. They're awesome. And if you haven't watched any, Kiki's a great place to start. Have it awesome, guys. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Peace.